Welcome back to Quarantine Chat with the Kamikaze team. This week we are so thrilled to be talking to two of our collaborative creators from the upcoming anthology coming out, Short Circuits. Today we're going to be talking to John Scooter Robinson the Fourth. He is the writer of Scorpio, a comic book about heroes based on the zodiac signs. And then he is also the host of a podcast all about writing called the Beyond the Fourth Wall of Writing. Erin O'Neill is the comic artist for Living Heroes, written by Stephanie Williams, the cover artist for multiple diverse romance novels, and then more excitingly, she has an anthology coming out, the DC anthology Wonder Women of History, coming this December. And they wrote and did the art for the upcoming short story, Min-Max, which is going to be a Kamikaze one-shot for our upcoming anthology. So welcome, you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for coming back.
Hey. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting us on.
Yeah, of course. How are you today? How are you? How's your week been?
I've been good.
Like nervous chuckle.
Can you believe it's already September?
No. I was still trying to figure out where April went. I just,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's been such a crazy year. We like to also ask other people. Well, one of the reasons why we even started with this quarantine chat series is we wanted a way to connect with people that we would have met up with at conventions. And so I was wondering, what's been kind of keeping you occupied during this insane year?
You want to go first?
Huh?
Writing or trying to write more. And I have been writing more. I've also feel like I'm not writing as much as I should be. And then video games kind of crept back into my life a little bit, which is a huge time waster. Oh my gosh. Freaking video games.
Wait, what kind of games are you playing right now?
So I started playing World War Z, which was sparked due to reading Justina Ireland's book, Dread Nation and Deathless Divide. And I was like, I'm gonna go kill some zombies. So I researched zombie games, and then I found out a bunch of people from from some other creators here in Atlanta play, like Rob Jeffrey, who's another creator on the anthology.
Yeah.
We'll be up at freaking 12 a.m. freaking killing zombies and stuff.
That's so funny. Yeah, I think I saw Robert and is Dedrin also Dedrin?
Yeah, Dedrin.
Also one of the players. Yeah.
Yeah, he plays a lot too, yeah.
It's I need a way to take control over an apocalypse.
Right, exactly. So let's just go kill zombies. But I've been doing that and then just trying to navigate time. I'm watching more TV shows, which is big for me because I suck at watching TV. I suck. I watch stuff hella late.
Right.
And people are always like, how are you not caught up on whatever the greatest show is right now?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I know that feeling. Yeah. I thought when quarantine started that I was going to be, the same boat that I was going to be able to plow through a whole bunch of backlogs of shows.
Right.
I just found a whole bunch of extra side projects. All of the free time just evaporated. Now I have magnets and hydroponic pumps and yeast for baking and making soda. It's there's way too much.
You were the king of the side hustle.
That's funny. What about you, Erin?
I've been drawing nonstop.
Wow.
Literally drawing nonstop since March.
Okay.
I've always been the type of person when I'm overwhelmed, I just kind of dive into work, and there was nothing to stop me because the whole world shut down. So I was just drawing. The only thing that stinks about it is that, with coronavirus and everything screwing up all the publishing schedules, like nothing is dropping when it's supposed to. So I've just been sitting here like, I can't talk about anything. And I don't have any art to post online. So it's like, do I even exist? I don't have art to post.
Right.
Yeah, it's just been lots of cool projects, lots of fun stuff, lots of drawing, and being trapped in my house with 3 kids, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But like as far as gaming goes, though, I kind of gone the opposite direction. It's just been like Animal Crossing. I just need to I need peace. I need a house that's clean. I need to be able to go outside and not have to worry about wearing a mask. You know, it's all in one spot. Peaceful. That's my jam right now.
See a theme with these games y'all play.
Animal Crossing. I have no idea. All I know about Animal Crossing is that people go off about I can't remember what it is, some vegetable, and whatever the vegetable is that. Turnips. Yes.
Yeah. My kids are into it. My kids are richer than I am. They give me an allowance now. I'm like, hey, mommy needs to buy some more tools. Can you break me off some bills?
Word.
Really, you need to pay me back really quick.
Me too. Like they're charging interest and stuff. Like these rates are ridiculous. I was like, 6 years old. What are you doing this? They're killing me. But yeah, it's basically just been drawing, trying to keep my kids occupied, and Animal Crossing. I did start on my to-be watch list, like all the anime and stuff that I haven't watched, and like a fool, I decided to start with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which, my God, that is a ride. I think I'm in, what is it, Diamond is Unbreakable, or the 3rd or 4th arc. I am losing my mind. That is the wildest stuff ever. Nothing anyone has told me has prepared me for it. They're like, just like, strap in, just buckle your seatbelt. You're in for a ride. I'm like, how bad could it be? I've watched some stuff, you know, can't be that bad. And it's just like every episode, I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's on my list. I hear nothing but good things about it. So
it should come with like a bucket load of like content warnings, which I knew about going into it, and I'm not really all that squeamish, but I don't like jump scares. I'm like a scaredy baby, all right? And the music and the writing and the way they set things up is so over dramatic and over the top that I am screaming every 5 seconds, and it's not scary. I'm just like so hyped about it. It's just like, oh my God! And it's just like some dude looking in the window, and I'm just like, I'm such a fool. Every time though. But yeah, I've been live tweeting it, and people are just laughing at my misfortune. And
I love it. That's great.
So if you're ever bored, come find me on Twitter. I'm probably live tweeting about JoJo. About it. Trying to make sense. You need to watch it.
I have to admit, there's points where I'm looking at your feed while I'm looking over Twitter, and I'm like, oh, Erin's watching JoJo's now.
Nice.
It's like whenever I
have no context for what you're looking at. All I know is that it's JoJo, and that's it.
I started it thinking, finally, I'll understand all these memes, but it was a mistake. What's your end? I'm just going to see if I can come out the other side.
So funny. Well, I know, again, I don't have to explain that this year is crazy, but I know like conventions are super vital to comic creators. Which conventions do you miss the most from this year?
I don't actually go to that many conventions anymore. I used to go to Comic Palooza just because it was local and it was kind of tradition. We meet up with all the friends and stuff, but I haven't really done much traveling for conventions since my kids showed up, because trying to wrangle 3 kids to a convention hall is,
oh yeah.
So like, unless it's somebody that I know someone is going to be there and they have a table and we can just come by and say hi to them and then bounce when we have to. I haven't done much traveling and stuff, so most of most of what I miss is like when friends come into town for conventions because I can't take them out.
Yeah. Aw.
That sucks. But
Definitely.
yeah, mostly the socializing that I miss.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I know, John, we met at a convention while I was tabling at the Atlanta Black Sci-Fi convention.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, that was, and it was kind of funny because I'd already known you online beforehand. So like
But we didn't realize that until like
right.
20 minutes into the conversation.
Yeah,
You're like,
because
wait, a
we're just
band
like
of
talking, and I'm like, oh, I've seen Kamikaze before, like online or stuff like that. I was like, oh, this is okay, cool. And then like, I don't know, like your name was on the book, and then like it just started to click. I was like, wait, like that Havana?
band of
Like,
three? What the hell?
you know, I followed each other for a while, and then after I said that, Jamel's right now. Jamel I already like really knew, like online, like not in person. I didn't, but me and Jamel talked a lot more online already. So when I was like, oh, Havana there, he's like, oh, I'm Jamel. I was like, oh wait. I was like, oh snap, Jamel.
I remember that.
And then we like dapped up and stuff. I was like, oh, what's up, man? So like, yeah, it was like it was like one of those things. And then like I said, I'd seen Kamikaze before online. But yeah, I mean, as far as conventions missed, I mean, that one is one of them for sure. Because I mean, Dragon Con and MomoCon, love them. You know, the Dragon Con, of course, always special place, whatever. But like some of the smaller conventions, they're a little bit more, I don't know, intimate as far as like creators or whatever, hanging or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that environment also. And I think the most of those environments that I like is that one, especially since me and Tony Cade, who is the owner of the comic book shop that's over there in that mall.
Yeah.
You know, he's a good friend of mine too. And I met him years before I knew most of the creatives in Atlanta. Years before I even before I even like started thinking about writing comics. That was like back in 20 maybe 13, 14, somewhere around there. And I remember because I went to play a HeroClix tournament in his shop. And I remember when I walked in the shop, I was like, I mean, the whole environment was different because first of all, he's the only Black comic book owner in Atlanta. So the atmosphere, like going around, I've been in like hella like comic shops or whatever and gaming shops. So like walking in there and the atmosphere, and I'm like, yo, there's Black people playing Yu-Gi-Oh! There's Black people playing Magic.
I
There's
love
Black
it.
people playing HeroClix. And I'm like, yo, because usually when I go to a HeroClix tournament, I show up and I'm the only, like literally, like the only Black person there. You know, it's like, you know, they take like the top 8 picture or whatever. And I'm like, this, you know, the one guy. And I love the HeroClix guys, but it's just, you know, so like walking in Tony's shop for the first time, I was like, yo, this vibe, this is gonna be like my spot. Like when I get back, because I wasn't even living in Atlanta at the time. I was in Columbus. So I was like, yo, when I get back to Atlanta, this is gonna be my spot right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so convention wise, yeah, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like comic book shops too.
Yeah.
Well, I know one of the things that I love about your online presence, John, is that like, you know, we had sort of known each other through Twitter before we ever met. You're really good at kind of like uniting and like creating an online community for writers. Can you tell us a little bit about that online community that you've created?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, it was just like, it wasn't like just like writing it first, you know? And I mean, I don't know how cohesive it is. It's like, you know, like in a an amorphous, you know, blob of different creatives or whatever. But it started from the comic book thing. Like just literally I would go online and at first all I was doing on Twitter, because I thought Twitter was dumb until like I thought Twitter was like dumb until I started doing like web design. This is like way before, like 2008, 9. I was doing web design. And then I realized, oh, you can get clients on Twitter. Like, hold on. That's why I started realizing that Twitter was like, this might be serious. But then even then I still wasn't on there socially. But then I started like posting comic book stuff. Like after I wasn't focusing on the website stuff, all the, you know, designing, I started posting comic book stuff. And then it was like catching on. And then eventually I made the blog just because I was like, I gotta start talking about this. But then it caught on. And I was like, oh, so like it was like from there, like so I just learned to focus in on the things that I do, which is comic booking and writing. And so I just focus on talking about those things online. Then I created it. I mean, there's been all kinds of different stuff that I've done. Like I had a writer's chat, still do have writer's chat, a writer's Discord, people to come in, talk about writing. The writer's chat, it was monthly, but I cut it down to kind of kind of a call on thing. And I have an email list for it too, so I could like announce it to people. And it's every time I do it, it's still pretty live. So yeah, the writer's chat helped bring people together, and we pick a topic and just talk about that particular topic. And then that led into the podcast, and bringing people into the podcast, got people interested. Justina, I mentioned earlier about she just recently did an interview. So yeah, it's just like, I guess that like just talking about what I do on a regular basis kind of helps to drive that. And then I get burnt out on social media too. Like there'd be times I just get real quiet and like just kind of back away.
Right.
But,
I think we're all starting to experience that a little bit this year.
Oh yeah, it's like a freak show every week.
Every hour.
That is true.
So I had so much fun lettering the pages for Min Max. I mean, Erin, I was immediately sold when you sent us over the character designs of Link and Markeisha in their in-game clothes. It looks so cool.
That was the sickness. I was like, oh, I'm not even gonna think about these designs because she's got it. Like, I was like trying to throw out some little ideas. I was like, oh no, these are better than whatever was Luna made it. Like,
but that's the thing though. When I got like all of the scripts and like the story Bible, like I was just zooming in on these like particular words that you use. How much can we talk about? Like, am I allowed to? Okay.
Yeah, as long as we're not spoiling the story.
Yeah, just don't spoil anything.
Yeah.
Like, well, there's new characters that people haven't seen yet. Can I talk about them? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just still name them. Just be like, there's a character who looks,
Okay, so one word set off a whole chain of events in my brain, and it was just like, what was the word? It was like serpentine. I was just like, ooh, hold on. And like from there, everything else just sort of like clicked into place. Like all of the designs, when y'all read it, you'll see it. But all of the designs, like the motifs that I use, throwing in like just little bits and pieces from like what the story's about. I mean, we're talking about hackers and stuff, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna throw some binary into this costume design. Let the real computer science nerds catch it, like all the little Easter eggs that I put in there. Everything started from your script, and I was just so in love with the script. Like, okay, I have to confess, when I got the email, I was like, oh my God, Kamikaze. I've been a fan of Kamikaze forever. I love this. I could wait for a minute, and I was just like, yes, I would like to be a part of this project. But then when Carrie was like, yeah, it's a story, and it's, God, and I was like, oh my God. And then you're like, it's Link. I was like, oh. I mean, Link, he's okay, I guess. He's not my fave, but he's okay. But then when I read that script, I was like, oh, okay, Link.
Oh my God, I love what you did with Link. It's so funny that you responded that way. Because you killed it.
I have to admit, I had the same response too, because when John came to us and he was like, okay, so I got this story and I want to focus on Link, and I was like,
dude, are you kidding? I was excited because Link is like, he's kind of a goofball, but he's like, we only get to see such a small part of him in the main comic.
I think that's what it is. Like everybody else, I can understand why they do what they do.
Right.
But like Link has probably gotten the least amount of backstory. So I was just like, I guess I'll give him a chance. We'll see what this will do. I should not have underestimated John like that. I apologize, sir. That was beautiful. Because I was just like, you converted me. I am now shipping people I did not think I was going to ship.
Oh, snap.
I love it. Oh my God.
I've been a fan of this comic for so long. So for you to like give me this character and put him in a light that I hadn't seen him in yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just sort of opened up the possibilities the way, you know, you guys are going to do the main story. I'm excited all over again. So it was so much fun. But like the costume designs and the fact that I got to, you know, basically create new looks for the characters.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I love it. I'm just like, how do we change the clothes they like?
No, I saw those designs and I was like, yo. I was like, I just had like some fun gaming idea. Like this is like this is like for real gaming right here. Like this is like next tier. I was blown away. Like
I mean, you guys did such a good job just like upping the ante with what we came up with. Like, wow, you guys like really improved on it. Which is why we like doing these anthologies too. Like it's so cool to see the different directions that other creators take our characters in. Yeah, I love what you guys did.
I do too. I have to admit, after like seeing the artwork and reading the work that John did and Erin, you did, like Link's always been a character that I've just sort of seen him as like, I mean, he does have a backstory. He has all this other stuff going on, but at the end of the day, he's a fuckboy. So,
I didn't want to
yeah, it's just like, okay, he's a fuckboy, whatever. But there's like certain levels that you guys hit, and I was like, I didn't think about it that way, or I never thought that, you know, this angle could work as well as it did. And I think that's one of the things I really, really love about I love just handing people Kamikaze and saying, go have fun. I want to see you play. Because for me, it's like, it not only provides amazing stories and a chance for other people to like create, you know, something in a world that I'm in way too much. It actually gives me like a breath of fresh air and being like, okay, well, as a writer, like I know this and I know that and I know this, but then you guys, anybody takes these characters and all of a sudden there's a whole new facet that I never even thought about, and I just freaking love it. So I have a feeling that a lot of people are gonna really enjoy Min Max. If anything, especially for Erin, the interactions in the script alone are really, really like endearing and fun, but Erin, you just took it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Like just how, like something went from, that's funny to, oh shit. Like, it just went.
Back that energy.
Huh?
Like the script had so much energy, and I've loved these characters for so long. So I was just like trying to match what John threw out there for me. Because I was just like, these people have been working together forever. They get on each other's nerves, you know. There's going to be a lot of back and forth and stuff.
The banter is the funnest part. Like,
right?
The banter, it's just like, oh, they're, you know, I mean, obviously not saying anything about the script, but like, what would these people do like before a mission? You know, what kind of conversations would they have? How they react to each other? Blah blah. And, you know, and in the main story, what I was thinking about a whole lot, because that's why I asked beforehand, like, where is this like kind of set at? And it's like, oh, it's kind of vaguely in the future, but not like super far. I'm like, okay. So I was like, okay, well, then they've been working together for a little while. Because in the main story so far, like it's very, you know, I mean, everything's high octane. Things are moving. The story's getting unraveled. Like, you know, like like I mean, at one point, I mean, you meet Markeisha. She's doing her thing, and then next thing you know, she's like on the biggest mission of her life, and she's just like, it's just moving and moving and moving. So I was like, it'd be fun to see like a little bit of, you know, with the, you know, the limited space of the anthology. I was like, I still want to make sure I put in some points where they can, you know, have a little bit of conversation, a little bit of fun or whatever. But yeah, I concur. Like Erin levels it up. Like it's just like, oh, this is kind of funny. Like you know, you put in kind of funny, but it's like when you see the expressions and interactions between one another, and then what's his face, Link's like he's so narcissistic, right? He's just so like, and it's like it's there, like it's all there. And then when he feels bad, that's all there too. And it's kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you get all the layers. So yeah, that's the.
You guys, John doesn't skimp on. He makes it very clear who he ships.
Well, I thought. Well, personally, in the original script, I thought it was apparent because I mean, shipping. I'm not like the shipping type of person. Like, I don't go. Like, I'm not the person who's gonna be like, oh yeah, I think Catwoman should be with like Tony Stark from Iron Man or some crap like that. Like I mean, from Marvel, I don't think that would work. But
John's brand shipping service.
Right. I mean, I had to pick it from two different sides, But yeah, I can't. Like, I don't really do that. But I was really just going off, and maybe it was a small interaction in the main book. But in the main book, I'm like, oh,
Carrie, we did put that there.
Right, I'm like, she's doing her, right?
But it's just like.
I reread it from the beginning when I got the script, and I was like, "Oh, that's where that came from. Got it." Let me build on that. Go ahead and throw in a couple of blush lines here.
Yeah. That's perfect. I mean, that was what was neat. I needed to I needed it to be conveyed, the feelings, without like saying the feelings. All the way. I know in the first draft I kind of put it out like way too hard. And Carrie was like, "Whoa!"
The editor actually had to say, "Look, I understand you ship these guys, but we gotta tone it down just a little."
That's so funny.
I figured you just put it in there and then see what happens. It was like, yeah, just veto it.
Now.
I've never thought about that from a writing perspective, like. Because there is no visual in front of you, like, does that ever make it a little difficult to write the dialogue, or like not really, or?
So my first draft dialogue is always like kind of rough because I write dialogue like here is what the conversation is saying, right? Like this is what they're talking about this obviously. That's like the first draft of dialogue, right? And then the second draft of dialogue is like, okay, now let's try to break it down into where I now know with the first draft what they're talking about, obviously, but let's now like, cut out all the fat and then like reshape it so that it's, like natural conversation, and then of course, like I'm just not the best with thinking of the best ways to phrase things. So somebody comes in and you're like, this whole sentence could have just been like this. I'm like, oh, okay, let's do that. So that's kind of the phases of dialogue of dialogue for me. So I mean, like, is it hard to? I mean, I won't say I don't think it's hard to say because I see the stuff. It's just like in my head, like the band, especially when it's coming like banner and stuff like that. I see all the conversations and stuff, and I have it in my head. But it's whether or not the artist is going to convey it the way that I think that, or the way that it's in my head, somewhat. And then of course Erin came in there and just like did it even better than what was in my head. So I was like, oh, okay, this is good then. Like we're good. Like I don't have to worry about this at all. Like everything that was conveyed was. Or was conveyed through the art was conveyed the way I was thinking it and better. Like the blush lines where I don't know, I can't remember if I wrote in blush lines or not. It was properly inserted. You know what I mean?
That was me trying to fix something past the editor.
Yeah, but it was perfect though. Like that's what was needed. I mean, because sometimes I don't know the exact way to describe an expression. I might write in that they're feeling this way. I'll write that in a script sometimes. Hey, they feel this way. I don't always know the facial or the body language or whatever that will convey it properly. And to some extent, I'm just kind of like, I guess the artist got to figure it out because I don't know. I hope. But yeah.
I want to say, like, your script was really easy to understand the intent behind like everybody's actions and like what they were feeling, because that's one of the hardest things for me to get out of certain scripts that have come across, my desk. Like sometimes they don't mention like, okay, this person is in a foul mood. Like I would need to know that. Yeah. But a lot of writers, when they're writing, they don't always think about putting it in there. It's in their head, but they don't put it on the page.
Right.
So like with your script, it was like really easy. I was like, okay, so he's feeling like a little remorseful, So, you know, he's going to have his little body posture. He's tall, so he's going to slouch more. Like, it was easy to tweak the scene to make it fit. To, you know, try to hit the intent. So like,
Erin,
I didn't have to read your mind.
No, that's a really fascinating topic. So as a comic artist, like, I've only done comics through Carrie. You know, I don't have the experience of working with other writers. What are some common like pitfalls that writers make when writing for comics, and that make, like, what advice would you have for writers to make it easier for artists to interpret the page?
Let me get out my notepad so I can take notes.
Follow John. Step one, follow John. I pause you because that's good work. But basically, it's for me, because I've worked with a lot of different writers this year. Everybody has their own style and everybody has their own approach. And a lot of times, you know, as a writer, you may not know who your artist is going to be, which can be a bit difficult. So you kind of throw in a little extra. The things that make it hard or more difficult for me is when every last centimeter of the page is plotted out for me ahead of time. I've had that come a couple of times. Like, if it's important to the page, like you're creating structure for a particular reason, if before you put all those descriptions, you say, this is what I need to achieve. That helps me more. Because like, as a visual person, the second you start telling me, okay, this is going to be like 3 centimeters wide and on the left, I'm like, okay, so I'm drawing it out exactly as you say, but then it still doesn't make sense. It's not clicking. I need to know the intent. That helps me. So if I know what the characters are feeling, what time of day it is, because a lot of times I have to color things and they forget to tell me what time of day it is, you know, things like that. Like, you guys are a team, you've worked together forever, you probably have your own shorthand, you know what the other person's thinking, you know these characters inside and out. Like, as an artist who's hopping from world to world and writer's brain to a different writer's brain, I don't have that benefit, and I usually have pretty tight deadlines.
Yeah.
So, you know, the more information you give me up front about this is the intent, this is, like John was saying, like when he writes his dialogue, he's like, this is what they need to say to move the story forward, but this is what they're actually saying on the page. Like, I need to know what they mean, sort of. Like, when you're writing your descriptions and stuff for the page, you don't have to tell me every little detail, but if there's something important, make sure it's there for me. Like, if somebody has a tick where they're always playing with their pen, I should know that before, you know, 3 pages in, because I would need to go back and redraw that person playing with a pen or having a pen before that scene. So it's just like little bitty things like that to help.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome advice.
I hope it's useful. I'm just glad.
I'm literally writing this down myself. So. that gif of that one lady with the notebook. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I got this one script that was like for the Wonder Woman and History book that we were talking about, that there was a thought that Vita had that it should, you know, be a certain way, but because they had put the intent, like, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, I was able to flip it and use a different visual altogether, and it ended up clicking better. So like, sometimes I may not follow your script 100%, but that's because I see, like, this is the problem that we as a team are trying to solve, and these are the parameters that you gave me to work within, and I've come up with a different way to solve that problem. So I know as a writer that probably might be uncomfortable for some people, because you're basically going on faith that your artist has got your back. But like, your artist, your colors, your letterer, we're all a team, and we're trying to push out the best story possible. So the more I can get inside your head, the easier it is for me to do what I do.
I love that. I love, like, the whole idea of, like, making sure your artist knows what the page is saying, not the dialogue, but like what this page is actually trying to say. That's great. I'm taking down notes too. I'm not even a writer.
I
So
wonder about that. Yeah.
yeah. So as I was like reading about reading your bios and everything, I think this is so interesting. Both of you have had very different paths career-wise. So Erin, I saw that you started in non-creative jobs like corporate management, but then made the transition to art, right?
Yep.
And then John, you happily work in IT. You just work on comics on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are both unconventional paths, but really relatable to most aspiring creators out there, probably. Was it hard to make the switch?
No, because I knew that I was gonna like I was always writing regardless, even if even before I knew how to compose a coherent story, I would just like write stuff anyway. So I knew over time I was like I mean it's kind of hard not to write. You know what I mean? Like I just can't really see myself just like not writing at all. There's always got to be something that's like swimming in the back of my head or whatever. So no, it wasn't hard to make a switch. And then as I read different books, they were also inspiring. Like speaking about the IT thing, I work in IT. I was as a network admin, and I remember reading this book almost 10 years ago now. It's called Damon by Daniel Suarez, I believe is his name. But Damon is a super hella all the way into IT book, and I'm just like, I looked at it as like this guy's never written a book before, but this book is freaking excellent. And I looked at his job title, and he's like some systems engineer, like freaking senior system, whatever. Been in the business for like 20 plus years. And I'm looking at his stuff like, oh, like that's part of why this book flows. Well, I mean, it's well written in general, but like all of the IT concepts, like they make sense. So he was like taking from his, what he knows in his regular life and applying it to his novel. And I was like, wow, like that's the kind of thing that like to be able to take, people always say, oh yeah, take from your experiences. Like, well, one of your number one experiences is where you work. So I mean that was kind of an inspiration in terms of writing, I guess the writing what thing or whatever. So I mean there's a little bit of that in Min Max, not a whole lot because it's mostly like gaming and stuff like that. But I mean like Link, one of the reasons why I gravitated towards Link is because he is a hacker. Now I'm not a hacker, but I do understand like what hacking entails and what it is. You know what I mean? I was thinking about like even the base concept of why they have to do the mission they're doing. Again, not spoiling anything, but why they have to do the mission the way they have to do it is because in my IT brain, I'm like, well, duh, they got to do that because it wouldn't be possible otherwise. And honestly, what he does in the story, like I had to fight my IT brain to let it go a little bit because I was like, even there, they would have this setup and this security setup and blah blah blah. So I was like going through it, but I was like, okay, but let's leave a little bit to fiction, right? But yeah, like some of the some of that was from what I do in the regular world. So I guess it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, the decision to draw wasn't difficult. It was the decision to walk away from my day job that was hard. Like, yeah, I don't know about y'all, but there was a time in my life where I put a lot of value into what I like. A lot of my self-worth was tied up in, my titles, my job, what I did, how impressed people were with what I did, and that sort of thing. And I was pretty miserable. Like I did the corporate ladder thing. I did everything I was supposed to do. I'd actually quit drawing altogether during that time in my life. It was a good 10-year period where I did not draw at all.
Are you serious? You're
Serious.
so good. I'm like shocked.
Like when I was going through the whole should I go to college, should I work thing a million years ago, because I feel so old right now. But when I was going through all that, I had a lot of well-meaning people who wanted me to succeed in life. And they're like, well, you're smart, computers, you can go into computer science. And I was just like, I can do computer science. And so I just did what I was told because they were grown-ups and they knew more than me. And, I wanted to own things like a house and a car, and I've never seen an artist do that. And I was always told artists will starve to death and homeless. And like my parents, my dad is pretty strict about education and stuff, so like it wasn't an option. I was just gonna have to put aside that and move forward. So I did the corporate thing, climbed the corporate ladder, did my little programming on the side and stuff, and it was just like miserable. I was so miserable. And around that time, I had my kids, and I was thinking to myself, like, I don't want to force my kids into anything, like thinking about the type of parents that I want to be. And I was like, well, I'm a hypocrite then because I'm not doing what I want to do. And yeah, so when I was on maternity leave, I like corporate world is terrible. Like when you go on maternity leave, like you have way less pay than you do normally. Like your salary is like cut severely. And I was like, well, if I can live off of this, I might as well be an artist. And that's how that all kicked off. So I kind of wrote myself a list of these are the things, these are my non-negotiables. I need a roof over my kids' heads. The kids need to eat. I don't ever want to have to tell my kids no, you know, unless they're being a spoiled brat. But like for stuff they need, they should never hear the word no. And I figured out what that number meant for me, made sure I had that in savings, paid off my house, and quit. Because that's what I needed. That's what I needed for my, you know, for my peace of mind. I need to know that there are certain things that I just don't negotiate on. And I promised myself, if this whole freelancing artist thing doesn't work, or if I get below this much money in the bank, I'll just go get a real job because, you know, I still have the skills. They haven't gone anywhere. I'll just go check groceries until I build that money back up. So I knew what I had to do. And then after that, everything else was just like pushing forward and doing the work. There's a lot of like imposter syndrome crap that I was not prepared for. No one told me about, and battling all of that. But like once I set my mind on this is the thing that I can do and I should do because it makes me happy, then it just kind of smoothed out and everything just became clear what I should be working on. Like I have a lot of friends who are also creatives who still have a day job and they're very happy. So it's more like what works for you. This is what works for me because I couldn't do the day job and this job and hang out with my kids. One of them had to go. So I said goodbye to the job I hated, kept the job I liked, kept the kids that I kind of like, and just moved forward with that. And I mean, my life is a lot better for it. I mean, my lifestyle is a bit different, but it's better for it. I can work in my PJs, you know, everybody else is working from their PJs, so they see, oh, you were on or something. I was like, yeah, you should have jumped ship with me, you know. But
get on my level.
what's wrong with y'all? You could have been living this life too. But yeah, it's people who were trying to talk me out of it all those years ago. Now that they're seeing, oh, you have books being published and your name is in print. Now they're like, oh, that's why you did what you did. That's why, you know. So it pays off. It's a different path, and being comfortable and, you know, secure in yourself helps, because you're gonna have a lot of people who might tell you that's a bad idea, or are you crazy? Or, you know, you're gonna be living under a bridge in 2 years, if someone actually told me, and I was just like,
of course. People really freak out about the idea of pursuing anything creative as a career. But man, that is such a cool and inspiring story.
Right? That's super inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you didn't just make the jump. You were very smart about it. You were calculated. You know, I think when people think about, oh, you're gonna just pursue this art career, it's like you're being super impulsive. Like, no, there's quite a bit of planning around it.
Right.
right, like I like to eat. I'm not gonna be a starving artist. I'm gonna figure out how to eat first.
Exactly.
I mean, all those years of spreadsheets weren't for nothing. I ran a couple of VLOOKUPs. I figured it out. I figured out my plan.
That's very cool. I know both of you have kids. Do you do anything to kind of encourage creativity in your kids too, or like, do your kids ever get involved in your creative endeavors?
They designed one of the characters in the story.
Yes, I remember.
And I love her. I love her so much. And I thought, honestly, as an editor, like that is not something I ever would have thought I'd have an artist do. But it was the most, frankly, it was one of the most like amazing things. Like I thought it was absolutely brilliant that you had your kids help design a kid character.
Awesome.
So I was just blown away. That's amazing. Your kids did great. You did great. Everybody's awesome.
Yeah, like I don't really have to encourage them to be creative. Mostly I'm discouraging them from being creative on my walls. You know, bust out the crayons, and I have
the
a
walls.
Put those by pain.
I just feel like a pain like in my chest thinking about the wall, like there's like on the other side of this wall, where there is still a picture of Humpty Dumpty drawn on the wall.
Oh my god!
And downstairs, and oh my god, the walls. I feel your pain.
It's like a game for them now. Like I'll be walking and all of a sudden I'll see a new one. I'm like, where did this come from? And they're giggling off somewhere in another room. It's like, this is not cute. Like they're gonna be laughing until I just give them paintbrushes and make them repaint my whole house.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I have so much paper. So much paper. I used to have to ration paper as a kid because my dad was like, I'm not buying more paper for your little comic book that you're drawing. I used to have to ration paper. These kids have all the paper in the world, reams of paper, but they draw on my wall.
Oh my god.
That's the kid life.
Yeah.
That's the kid life.
I have a couple friends who have kids, and one of them just decided that they were just going to give up. So what they did was they took some chalkboard paint and just painted one wall with chalkboard and said, go nuts here. And the kids go nuts all the time, and they get really excited when they fill it up, and then they take a picture and then wipe it down and then start over again.
I really thought you were gonna say they draw on everywhere but the chalk.
Right, exactly.
They draw on the chalk.
That's what my kids would do. That's what I'm thinking. Like,
it'd be like the emptiest wall in the house. Like looking for the top.
Yeah.
Or my daughter who drew a K, the older one, who drew a K on the chair, on the dining room chair with the you know, the felt, like, or not felt, but it's like the cushioned, you know, and I just thought back to when, because we switched those chairs when we got that dining room set. I remember because we had like these boring chairs, and I was like, no, let's switch the set and let's get these nice cushioned ones. And Jesus, she wrote the K on there and then lied. This is the older one, and said, oh no, Anika did it. Anika at the time was like less than 2. And so Anika, who doesn't know letters, wrote a K, which happens to be the first letter of your name.
She was new to the lying game, dude.
Right? It's like this is not the best lie ever. Yeah, you know, like.
Okay, can I tell a story that's gonna probably make you guys faint? My little brother, when he was like 3 or 4, one day when my mom came home, he ran like straight into her like legs, like, Mom, I love you, and then like he wrapped his hands around her leg, like, I love you so much, and then she's like, oh, I love you too. Then she goes into the dining room. Gray spray paint all over the wall, all over the table, all over the new chairs that she bought, all over the little china cabinet.
You tagged the whole room?
Nope.
Went hard.
Nope. I would
have walked out the door.
I think that's what my mom did. Like, she couldn't even blow up. It was just too much, you know?
I just had to take a walk up and down the street for a little while to cool off. that would flip the freak out. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, it's so funny because like my brother is like he's like I love you, which is like okay, something is sus. and then when she was walking towards the dining room, he was like, "Oh, don't go in there!" And then he runs away.
Oh my goodness, that is the worst.
Oh man. Oh goodness.
My kids don't even lie. They act like we're in a courtroom. Like I saw a cupcake. Like my kid's birthday was last week, and there was a cupcake wrapper in the middle of my living room, and I'm walking through, and I'm like, Daphne's there. She's the one where it has like icing all over her face. There's a cupcake wrapper like a foot away from her. Like, hey, pick up that cupcake wrapper. You didn't see me do it, mommy. I'm like,
wow.
But did you see me do it? I'm like, I did not see you put it on the ground, but you see the trash on the floor and you didn't pick it up, so you need to pick it up. So it's like one day they're gonna outmaneuver me, like logically.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's gonna happen. It's only a matter of time. But like 6 years old, you didn't see me do it. I'm like, who are you, Phoenix Wright? What is this?
She used to be on the the debate team in high school. Make sure you put her on the debate team.
As long as she's not debating me, I'm okay. But that threw me off so bad. I actually just sat there in shock, like, what is happening right now?
Funny. Oh man. That's hilarious. Oh.
Kids don't need help being creative. We just have to get out of their way. And that's what I try to do.
So it sounds like you gotta harness it a little bit.
Oh yeah, like I try to direct it, but I mean, where it lands, that's on God. I don't know. I guess so.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this has been such a great discussion. I know I've learned a lot from it, and we are kind of reaching the end here. But I want to ask: is there anything you're working on right now that you really want to promote? And where can people find you online?
So you can find me online at Fourth Wall on Twitter. That's IV, like the Roman numeral, WAL. And then you can find my comic at scorpiocomic.com. It's also on fourthwall.net if you go to that website. So
and Fourth Wall also IV.
Yep, yeah, IVWALL.net. So yeah, you can go on there and find the comic. There's other projects in the works, like at various stages. There's an announced project. I mean, it's still very early, so it doesn't really matter. But it's an announced project called The Last of the Four that I'm working on with Michael Watson. It's going to be a webcomic. It's going to start off all black and white, and then progress from there. And then there's just other projects in the works. So just I guess follow and see as they show up. But yeah, that's it.
Cool. And real quick, do you still do the writers chat or anything like that?
So I do. So I do have I have two Discords. I forgot to mention this. I have two Discords. I have a comic book based Discord. Just come in there and chill, talk nerdy stuff and comics. And then I have a writers Discord, which is pretty quiet except for when we do writers chats. So it's usually it's strictly. I mean, it's not strictly. You can talk about writing whenever you want. There's people go in there, do critiques and ask people for help all the time. But but the writers chats are done in that Discord. I do announce them usually beforehand. So I mean, if you are following me on Twitter or Instagram or something like that, you'll see them when I announce them. But yeah, I do them, just not on a set time basis because it was getting too difficult to keep up with them. I mean, even once a month, I was like, Jesus, like picking an actual day once a month is still difficult to maneuver around. So like, I just announce them in advance, like a week beforehand, that hey, I'm going to do this in a week or whatever. But yeah.
How about you, Erin?
I'm at O'Neill Jones, ONEILL on Instagram and Twitter. I don't update Instagram that much. It's not my thing. I'm lazy, but I am on Twitter. But you don't have to follow me. But if you want, because I tweet about nonsense, literal nonsense, because I'm under NDA on all my doggone projects. I can't talk about anything. But if you want to see everything that is out that I can't talk about, all you have to do is go to twitter.com/O'Neil Jones, look at my pinned tweet, and scroll down. And it's like all the free stuff that you can read right now, all the stuff you can pre-order. When things drop, I will add it to that pinned tweet. You know,
That's
for your
great.
convenience. So yeah, so you don't have to wade through me screaming about JoJo and all the bizarre adventures. You can just go straight there. It's all in one spot. Wonder Women of History is out in December. I just wrapped up Living Heroes this week, so that's going to print soon. So y'all will be receiving those shortly. Everybody who backed the Kickstarter. And, you know, of course, then Max, when that drops, I'm going to be screaming about that because I've been waiting to scream about that for a while. We're excited about it.
We are so thrilled for these fans to get a hold of it because I think they're going to love it.
I've actually received a few DMs like, so when is the story coming out? I'm like, just be patient. It's worth the wait. It's so worth the wait. If y'all have half as much fun reading it as I did drawing it, it's worth. It's totally worth the wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great notes. Thank you so much again, and you know, viewers, tune in next time for a little cute chat with Kamikaze. See you.
Bye.